Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World figure to take a look at today, as we have another of the newest Roar Attack figures for the Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous Dino Escape line. This is Baryonyx Limbo. This is the second of the Baryonyx trio that we now have released, so hopefully we'll have the third soon, which we know is coming. And this one I actually found at my local Target. It's the very first of the new figures to actually arrive at my local Target. It was not on the shelves. I actually had to go and get it off of a cart that the worker was carrying around. I did see the box, so I was able to get it that way, and didn't have to wait any longer for them to actually put this out. But some other stuff they said was in stock, but then they couldn't find it, so unfortunately this is the only other new one that I was able to acquire, but hopefully I'll have the others very soon. But again, the box art looks pretty much like your standard typical box art from the Mattel Jurassic World line, and then when we flip it around, we have an image of the Baryonyx here on the back showing off some of the action features, kind of a sneak peek in general of the figure, as well as images of the others in this line, which we've already reviewed. The Ceratosaurus and now the Ankylosaurus Bumpy will hopefully be coming up very soon for review as well. But still pretty fun, definitely a fun looking figure. It doesn't look like the sculpt is new or anything in comparison to the previous Baryonyx releases, but let's go ahead, pop it out of its box, and take a look at it. So here is our brand new variant of the Baryonyx, and actually having it out here and, taking a wide look at it, it definitely has some new updates to it in comparison to the previous Baryonyx figures. There is a little bit of difference to it, which I'm actually picking up on right now. And mine also has some sloppy paint, as there's like a little splotch of paint right here on the snout, which I did not know, because of course it's on the inside, and Mattel loves to sneakily add those things onto the insides. Alright, I'm kidding, but they do somehow always end up on the insides. Like the poor eye paint and stuff is always on the side you can't see. It's just the way life works, it seems. But the figure definitely looks fun. Again, one thing that I would have appreciated a little more would have been more paint out onto the tail, which I was really psyched about with the recent attack packs from Mattel, as they had actually added more paint out onto the tails. But it seems like now with the Roar attacks, we've gone the opposite way, because the Ceratosaurus did not have paint out there, and now the Baryonyx doesn't either, but still pretty fun. So let's go ahead, get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Baryonyx, it looks really nice. Again, nice and faithful to what the Baryonyx looks like in, of course, Jurassic World, but also in Camp Cretaceous. We have some very nice detail within the head sculpt here. The teeth do appear to be pretty sloppy, though, if I look at it right here from the side. Maybe not that bad. They look a little bit sloppy when the mouth is closed. Like right there, they look really sloppy. You can see some of the brown has run down onto the teeth, but once you actually open it up and look at it, it doesn't look too bad. You can see the inside of the mouth, though. It does sport a really nice purplish coloration in there. Again, we don't have a very detailed tongue. Like, it's not terrible, but it could have been better. But it looks, for the most part, pretty nice. And, of course, we have a little splotch of paint right here on mine, so I'm probably going to end up having to rebuy this Baryonyx, because that's just the way my life works. The eyes are painted okay. Like, you can see they're a little sloppy, but they're not terrible either. Painted with a nice light yellow, given a black pupil, which I love the addition of the black pupil all the time. I love that Mattel's been adding that in. But you can see that from a detailing standpoint. Again, it looks pretty nice up here on the face. Nice looking detail. I feel like the dark brown almost washes the detail away. Like, you can't see how nice it actually looks because of the darker color, and you can see it a little better in the green coloration here on the lower jaw. As we move back here into the neck region, you have that very nice, longer, kind of thin-looking neck that you see displayed on the Baryonyx. The skin detail back here also looks really nice. Lots of nice skin wrinkles and stuff right here in the lower part of the neck. Gorgeous, very vibrant scale detail, again, that you can see here, like right here. That's really nice looking. And then up here on the back, you have almost like almost a Carnotaurus type look, where we have so many osteoderms running along the back, which is very interesting to see on the figure. But you can see again that it is just overloaded with those osteoderms. And we do have that area, which I'm not a big fan of, like I had stated in the Ceratosaurus review, of the kind of like open gaping hole that is now how we operate the action feature of the new Roar attacks, which is definitely an eyesore on the figure. But at least they like continue the paint and stuff in there to try to sort of almost conceal it, which is a plus at least. But as far as what we have paint-wise, we have this nice darker brown that runs down here along the back of the body and kind of like streaks and splotches down, but then it cuts off right here and transitions to a different variation of a green, like a darker, almost military type green. And then that continues to run back here, but that also cuts off before the tail here. You can see some like osteoderms, like ridges and stuff that run along the back here of the dinosaur as well. You can see also over here that the detailing in the stomach region again is just gorgeous, really, really vibrant scale detail, which is something I've been saying a lot about the newer Mattel figures, that they really just like the detail pops so nicely on them. And I've really been taking notice to that continuously on the newer figures. The arms look really nice. They really honestly don't look any different than the previous Baryonyx arms did. We don't have any nail paint, of course. The foot sculpt, I don't know if that's any different, but it looks pretty nice what we have here. Nicely sculpted out nails. It would have really been nice to see painted nails on the figure. We have another little splotchy area of that darker green here in the thigh of the Baryonyx. But then again, as we move out here into the tail, we don't have any paint out here aside from that primary green coloration that is the primary body color, and you can see that that is non-existent as far as like this darker green, which would have been nice to see come out here onto the tail. This is one area that I feel like definitely looks different. Like the actual positioning of the tail is very similar to the previous Baryonyx, where it follows like that same curve like we had seen, but the tail now has this very cool osteoderm like look and almost somewhat of a like slightly armored type of a look to the back of the tail here of the Baryonyx, which I don't think is something that we had seen on the previous ones. And the underside also looks really nice from a detailing standpoint. As always, there is the Jurassic Facts app code if you would like to add this to your collection. You can see that we do have like a slight speckling of almost like a yellow throughout the figure, which is again something Mattel loves to do. And then this side, you really don't see honestly too much difference in comparison to the previous side. We do again have that greenish paint here in the thigh. I love how it kind of leaks down right here but follows all the way out onto the thigh. I don't think it did that over here. No, see, it comes down in the front of the thigh over here, but then the green paint comes from the back. But over here, the green paint comes down and actually follows through into the thigh. I actually like that a lot better. But it really would have looked so much nicer if the green paint had actually run all the way out onto the tail. Like that definitely would have made a pretty drastic difference, I think. But again, nothing really too super different on this one. It's not like a total resculpt, it seems like the Ceratosaurus was, but at the same time, there are definitely some differences, and it's still a pretty fun, newer, somewhat different looking Baryonyx compared to the previous ones. As far as articulation goes, you got the articulated jaw, which has the upper and lower jaw, can articulate again for the action feature. And then we have the articulation in the arms, forward and back, out away from the body. Articulation in the legs, forward and back, also out away from the body. Pretty darn wide, actually. And then we also have articulation in the tail, which is super, super smooth. Like, that thing goes flying right there. But then as far as the action feature goes, and of course this is going to activate the roar attack sounds, so... that was definitely a little T-Rex in there. Pretty fun noises, nothing amazing. Oh. My Ceratosaurus didn't make the noises when I brought it back. It only did it when I was going forward. That's interesting. This one does. Apparently in both directions it does that. But again, I love the fact that you can actually have it displayed with the mouth open. It really makes for some awesome display options with your new figures, the new Roar Attack line. But oh, this tail is already getting a little bit weak. I feel like this is definitely going to be, look at that, it just drops. It's going to be similar to like the Spinosaurus legs where it doesn't want to stay up, but maybe the fact that it's so smooth is not a good thing, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that. The legs aren't standing correctly either right now, but again, still a pretty nice figure, even though it apparently has a few little issues to it. But I do really like the new action feature, but just hate the way that you operate it. I hate that gaping hole on the back. But as far as a size on the Baryonyx goes, for a length, you are looking at about 13 inches or 33 centimeters. And then for a height, about 5 inches or just shy of 13 centimeters for a height. For a size comparison, There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our brand new Baryonyx figure, and you can see that in comparison to these guys that the Baryonyx, although slightly different from the previous releases, still sports the exact same size and fits in right along that same size range of all of the Roarivores and Roar Attacks and stuff that we've had in the past. So very nicely sized for sure, because those were always quite large figures, but nothing different really in this size department compared to previous releases. And as far as a second comparison goes, not ideally the figure I would like to use for a comparison. I would have preferred to have used something that was like, factory painted from Mattel, but this is a custom Baryonyx that I had created quite a ways back that I painted and added quills to in comparison to the newer Baryonyx, and you could see straight away now that the right leg on the older one was leading, the left leg on the newer one is leading, so that's a little different. Now, I don't know for sure if any of the more recent Baryonyx figures have actually had the newly resculpted legs or anything, or even the tail and everything like that. Like, I haven't really been paying attention to that because the sculpts in general look so similar. It's something that may have just passed me by, but this one definitely does look different compared to the initial one. This one over here that I repainted was the original Baryonyx released by Mattel, so there is without question some differences between the two, and you can see in general, like, the overall appearance to the back is really quite different compared to the older one. Boy, my camera is just not focusing very well, but you can see it's really quite different compared to the older one. The tail as well doesn't quite have like all those osteoderms or anything out there on it like the newer one does. So there are definitely some differences for sure between the newer and older Baryonyx figures. So this brand new Roar Attack Baryonyx Limbo from Mattel is another really cool figure, and I love the fact that they are, adding in a little difference between the newer figures and the older ones with these new Roar Attacks, as the Ceratosaurus was resculpted entirely, and now this Baryonyx at least has some differences in comparison to the older Baryonyx. Potentially it may have been resculpted entirely. I don't know for sure. I think it definitely has reused some aspects of the older Baryonyx figures, but I don't know how much, if honestly any. It's really tough to tell, but the figure definitely looks fantastic from a sculpt department. As always, when it comes to a Mattel release, you get a very highly detailed and very nice screen accurate sculpt, which is something that can be said for almost every release from Mattel. So there's no worries when it comes to a detailing standpoint. The actual fine detailing of the figure is just off the charts. The paintwork on this is also really quite nice, quite reminiscent to Baryonyx Limbo. Similar, just about what you would expect, I guess, from Mattel giving us one, because their paint schemes are never exactly what you see on the dinosaurs in the films, but, it's about as close as we'll probably get when it comes to a figure like this, until maybe we would get like an Amber Collection release. It might be a little bit better and more accurate to what we see on the actual Baryonyx Limbo in Camp Cretaceous. But again, what we do have here as far as like a toy form goes, the paint scheme does look quite nice. The actual paint application is also really nice and naturally done, all nice and naturally applied. We do have a little sloppiness with some random paint showing up on the snout of my Baryonyx, but that would probably just be a one-off on mine. The lack of paint running out onto the tail, of course, just like with the Ceratosaurus, is a downside, something that I would have preferred Mattel had actually corrected and made a little nicer, because adding paint out onto the tail, just like we saw with the Wild Packs, not the Attack Packs, the Wild Packs, really makes a world of difference when it comes to the overall appeal factor. And then, of course, we could always use paint on the nails, and I will always stress that. As long as this Jurassic line is around, I will consistently stress that we should have paint on the nails, but it's not terrible that we don't, but it would definitely have been nicer if we did. The action feature is pretty fun. Aside from the gaping hole in the back, it definitely is nice to have a dinosaur like this, a figure where we can like position the mouth and it will stay open. It's definitely cool to have that option, and I like the sounds aside from the Tyrannosaur noise that's included, but the sounds are really quite nice on the figure as well. And we have some beautiful articulation throughout on top of everything. So it is a pretty fun Baryonyx release, another really fun Mattel figure that I can definitely say is a fun addition to the Jurassic World line. And it's nice to have some variation with our Baryonyx now, with this one being quite a bit different from the previous releases. So if you are interested in this, make sure you check your local Target as well as Walmart, because this will be showing up in both of those places. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.